major difference between a budget and a goal. A lot of times what people get into, and to not, Brother Raj talked about his Uncle Sam. We have to intend very purposefully to not be like Uncle Sam. A budget has to be it gives you a window into what we need to adjust some things. And so I would say that this the ant is important with respect to budgeting, because the principle of the ant, no overseer. There's no one commanding that ant. It's instinct directing him or her to store up. And the principle is, number one, there's no overseer, so they know to be diligent. It's instinctual within them, be diligent work. That the ant is somehow aware that there will be times of plenty and there will be times of famine. And that's the way it is in our lives as well. We know that life is seasonal. And so what a budget does is it helps you see the season that you're in, and it helps you to assign the purpose to that dollar. I've often said it, I don't know who I first heard it from. I think it may have been Brother Gaddis years ago. But you think of a budget like this. It's your every dollar, a name or a job. And when you think of it, and there won't be more, and there won't be more. And so wisdom prevails upon us, the wisdom of the ant, that in times of plenty in the budget, we make sure there's a line item. Just number one, it's important is your question. It's vitally important. And number two, what it looks like for us, you have to write it down. I agree wholeheartedly. Whatever works for you. It could be paper and pen. It could be that budget. But then you need to have the realistic monthly budget of this is everything coming in and this is everything going out. Because actually there's no overseer of the ant, but that's what we're called to be as overseers. Paul said that we are to be stewards. That word steward is literally an overseer. God expects us to be wise overseers, and the budget is the tool, and it's very practical. And so it looks like for us a spreadsheet. Everything that is, last thing I'll say is it gives you the ability to embrace your true expenses, like what really is an expense, and so it holds us accountable. And so for us, our budget is an accountability partner. And so it gives permission, if you will, for spending. And if the permission isn't there, you don't spend.
Can't go golf, huh?
Can't go golf.
No, that's really good. And the thing about budgeting is this. When you actually sit down and do your budget, oftentimes that's a really humbling experience. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not sure if you guys have ever run into that, but right? Because I think that's the mistake a lot of people make into account how much they're eating every month. They're not taking into account frivolous spending every month. And when you really start looking at your budget and like how much is going out, and I realized I was spending I was single at the time, but I was spending like $400 to $600 a month on fast food, right? And that is humbling when you think, because having a budget is nice. Knowing where all the money is going in, coming in, knowing literally everything that's coming in, and knowing everything that's going out. I mean, you have a name for every dollar. Right. I have $200 this month for frivolous spending. For when Kate and I have done it, we each get X amount of dollars for just whatever we want to spend it on. You have those days where you had a bad day, and you want to celebrate with Starbucks. I mean, you want to make yourself feel better with Starbucks.
Yeah.
Or then you had a good day, and you want to celebrate a good day with Starbucks. Yeah. Or you walk into Target, and Target starts speaking to you.
You need this.
Yeah, it's Target starts telling you. That. People know what a budget is, but then they make it, they feel accomplished, and then the budget's out the window, right? Yeah. What do you guys do to actually stick to the budget?
Well, you don't go in deficit spending just to spend the money that you don't, because guess what? It's going to be there on your credit card, and then you're not going to have money the next month to spend it. You just have to be disciplined with your money. And I don't think that it's wrong every once in a while to splurge. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't go on $1,000 shopping spree and you only had $100, because like at Christmas time, don't spend all this money, because guess what? January is going to come. And all those kids aren't going to play with those toys, and you're going to have all those bills. But splurging sometimes is not a bad thing, but it's how much you're splurging on. If it's $5 here, but don't let it be $5 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you wanted to do it once that week, you can make up for it somewhere else. But a lot of people, they spend without thinking. They're on autopilot is what they are, and they just go into the store. And if it feels good, they just buy two things, and you come out with the shopping cart full of things. So you've got to know your limit, but you have to be disciplined. You really have to be disciplined. And you have to walk away from things when you come to them and tell yourself, do you really want to splurge on something?
Yeah, and I think it boils down to really, I mean, there's a certain measure of willpower involved in discipline, but I think discipline is it's assisted so much by getting it's write it down. That's like the practical and income down, and then the other thing is look at it. You know, the people in the church that do jobs that almost know what the responsibility is if you forgot what the responsibility is. Right. So the practical side is write it down, but also visit it, like know what's going on. So with respect to kind of your example, it's not cheap. Coffee shops are not cheap with price changes. But I would set a $30 that people go off. I would have the budget for the week, or talk to yourself a little bit, and then if you do it, then make sure you're
savings, a long-term savings.
Right.
Then I'm taking that extra money away,
Right.
or when Christmas comes around, you mentioned Christmas, it starts with our day-to-day frivolous spending.
It does.
Dragon fruit lemonade.
There you go.
Know, next question naturally though, whether you're going to have money for Christmas is, we're actually
valuable. You know, this Christian lifestyle. We do three things with regard to that: pay for savings, and or the big, Christmas extra hard. That's what the principle of the career end and go do something extra, and make not just because in our credit card as well, and we use points. We use things rich, we're blessed. Use the systems that are out there. Find a card, get loyal with whatever program. If you're a Marriott person, a Hilton person, do it all the time. Sometimes they may be more expensive per night, but you know that in the long run, you're going to be able to use their points. So stay loyal. And then thirdly, we start early. Like if my wife and I, that's the way to do it. That's how we do it.
Well, me and my husband do the same thing with the credit cards as well. We save our points. Now, all my family, yes.
And you can do it. Times we've talked about a little bit, but it's that day. Honestly, we could, if I ate things.
Right, that have probably large.
Yeah.
Right. But if you start off, what you guys have been saying, it is so important to make sure if you do decide to go ahead and on the credit card thing, to stay diligent with it. I think what you meant, and I think that's what some people here.
Do not go shopping to rack up points. That's not what you do.
You're putting whatever your normal expense. I was talking to my dad about this whole subject recently.
Auto subscriptions?
Yeah, auto subscriptions. One of the things that will steal your money is subscriptions. Yes. If you go through your bills every month, you probably realize you'll have subscriptions that you've been paying for. I remember one time my wife and I were getting massages, right? And we were, we had the monthly thing for Massage Luxe, and we had forgotten about it. And I think a year later, we had 30 hours.
An insult is that everything is just behind the scenes with your debit or your credit card, and if you're not going to look, you can rack up like crazy before you ever even know it, or like that. You've given someone money, $1,500 over the course of time. That'll frustrate you. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up. Go check your subscriptions, and yes, do not spend your credit cards for shopping unless it's already built in the budget and you're walking out of the store paying that right then.
Yeah,
right.
It's in your allowance. If you're gonna go shopping with it, make sure it's in the allowance that was already in the budget.
Exactly.
And it's. Everything goes back to your day-to-day spending. This is my opinion. Everything does end up going back to your day-to-day spending. Vacations, times, discipline yourself in the day-to-day to have that savings.
Absolutely.
With keeping big lumps of money in your savings account. And that's one of those things where you see the money and you want to spend it, then spend the money. And by that I mean, if you want to go on vacation, talk to your spouse or wherever you want to go. Pastor mentioned making payment plans, right? When you have the money, go ahead and put it towards that vacation. Mm-hmm. Whether you're paying the hotel off or whether you're paying something else off that's in regards to that vacation that you want to go on, you can pay it ahead of time. That way when the vacation comes around and maybe it is a lacking season for you, that may be just what you need in that lacking. They are looking at their budget, and what they have coming in is very, the surplus that they have is very limited, to where the idea of putting money aside feels almost unfeasible. Right. How do you help people like that?
I think the first thing goes back to you have to do something, whether it's finding a way to make a little more money whether it's seasonal or whatever, to give you those reprieves, and then job and you get, and because of the economy, inflation is a very real thing. You are stretched thinner than maybe you were 2 years ago or whatever. You can figure this out. It is either a matter of making more money or spending less money, but you can usually find a way somewhere if you're willing to put the effort in. That's what I'm referring to more. You take a percentage where you're, whatever you can do, you do that to yourself, just like a bill, and you put it in your savings. And a second component of that is maybe so that you're not easy, it's not as easily accessible. You need to get in the religious practice of tithing to yourself, maybe not 10%, but for lack of a better term, paying yourself that's a bill. It's a part of your budget. Even if it's $10 a week or whatever it may be, you can do it. I'm telling you, you can do it.
You can.
And then part of that is to help with that for the emergency stuff, or just having to have for whatever it is, whether it's savings or emergency or expense. Likely have, say, $5 a week put into your Acorns account. It's an app that they invest, and I would not encourage super risky investment options, but they have on there safe options or whatever. The biggest point of this is not even the investment side, but the practical side, that it's kind of like Massage Lux, without you ever seeing it, they will take $5 and put it in that Acorns account. Or for us, we do, what do they call it? Roundups. So for every dollar we spend, any change that's left between that dollar, if it's $1.50, it's 50 cents between $1.50 and $2, then they'll round that expense, that charge on our debit card up to $2. 50 cents of it is going to us. And so you never see it. And all of a sudden, you look in a year later and there's $1,000 in that Acorns account, all because you are paying yourself based on what you set up and were able to do. And you will be shocked how much you can pay yourself when someone behind the scenes at your discretion is doing it for you. Don't get all crazy with it now. Fill it out at home, but load it right now.
I think we kind of covered it all. That sounds good. I would just say somebody could get sick. You don't have money. You're going to find a way to spend the money, aren't you? You're going to find a way to spend it on extra things. Put it in an account, another way that you could put it in an account at a bank or somewhere to where if you touch that money, they're going to penalize you. So, of course, I don't want them to take any money from me. So if you want to take a vacation, you could put the money in an account where you can't touch it, or they're going to no. So you'll leave it alone, and then that money will
It a point to pay yourself. Making it a point to take some money aside from, even if it's just a small amount, and putting that money aside for you, right?
It's like anything else, success-based. Just start. Even if it's small, it may feel like this is never going to amount to anything. It does. You just have to.
Like you.
Well, I used to clean houses, and I remember in the total of like 6 months just from cleaning houses when you guys were little, I saved $7,000 just from cleaning like maybe 2 or 3 houses a week.
Awesome.
And I saved that money religiously and did not. That's not for today. That's for specific purpose sometimes to be able to do those extra things that you want to do.
Have to.
Absolutely. And making the discipline to just sometimes just cut back just a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about missions. Unfortunately, we're already at 11:37.
Okay.
So I think we're really running out of being a stewardship of finances, having wisdom with your finances. What would that be?
I think and then I'll put it back. Do you really need that? Is it going to really make that much of a difference in your life? And if I leave it somewhere and walk around the store and walked out without it, of course I didn't. Or as she said, my teacher even told me, think about it for a week before you buy it. If it's something that you really, really want, I will pray and ask Jesus to let it go on sale, Lord, let it go on sale. Because I don't want to pay the full price. I don't pay full price for anything hardly unless I have to have it. Look for things on sale. Save that money. If something was going to cost $50 and you were willing to pay $50, but you waited a week, it went on $25. That's $25 you can save and put somewhere else. But you have to always look, do I really need, most of the times, half the things that to eat, I'm not an out to eat person. My husband is, he religiously. And I told my daughter yesterday, because I took her to lunch, I spent all this money on her to go to lunch. I was like, now this was $40 that I just spent, but I would rather spend it on something tangible that I could keep for a long time. So you got to think, what is the most important? And that's how you need to spend your money. That's going to benefit you and your family.
That's good. It's fantastic. The only thing I would add to it, and I may actually touch a little bit actually on the missions thing and the answer. You need to grow. New Testament is wrought with the spirit of generosity. Talked about it previously that when you get past tithe and offering in the New Testament, it's just like it's all available to God. Generosity, and that's where I think missions is different even than tithe and offering. Tithe and offering still benefits you. It still affects everything we do here. We take, as a pastor, we talked about this on the tithe side, we're taking such a small percentage of the tithe. The tithe is still, because the offerings aren't as nearly as high, it's still sustaining everything we do and everything that happens here. Brother Jeremiah is here today going to preach. We're going to pay him. We're going to take good, a workman is worth his hire. It's biblical to pay the priest, if you will. We're going to pay him. All of those things benefit us. Mm-hmm. Missions goes to where it doesn't benefit us. Right. It's a part of that generosity spirit, and it's a go command. It goes into all the world where we will never go physically. So I would say one advice is find the way to be generous. Whatever you have to do, cut back or make more. It just is a heart thing. I'm going to give, and God's going to bless me. God's going to bless me. And it doesn't always have to be an entity. It's like the guy on the side of the road. Whatever you felt led to do, but be generous. Buy somebody's meal. Man, don't worry about it. That's one thing. The other thing is there's an old parable that there's a father talking to a son, and he says, there's a fight within me. There are two wolves fighting within me. One is evil, one is good. The evil one, lust and greed and hatred and all these things. And the other good, the good one is love and joy and generosity and stewardship and all these. Then get busy feeding that wolf, choosing a hard.
If you want, I'll go back out later on. Really want that Starbucks drink?
Exactly.
Great principle, yeah. I love it. Can do these, but it was what she had for her.
Thank you, Mom. And how to be good with your money, you have 4 weeks to go back and watch. So next month, we're going to be talking about heritage.
Apostolic.